Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited for today's video. It's definitely super different than anything that I've done on my channel before, but I'm excited and I think it'll be really cool and I'd love to do more videos like this in the future. So there are a ton of K-pop 101 style videos for introducing you to different groups and fandoms. Those are easy to find for any group that has ever existed. However, I think something that's less common and less easy to find is more like K-pop 101 videos for overarching K-pop community things, like things that aren't maybe necessarily directed toward one group, but are kind of a general staple in the K-pop community. And with this video, and hopefully a couple videos in the future, I would love to kind of create like a series out of it, just to help people who maybe are newer to the community or have never done certain things or maybe don't understand certain things, to like help get them to be able to be more active in certain parts of the community. Because I don't feel like there's any point in gatekeeping anything in the K-pop community. We should all have as much access as we possibly can, and if I can help a little bit, I will. Now, as you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about and sort of walking you through the different types of K-pop fan calls that are out there, because fan signs aren't the only type of fan call that exist, and especially since COVID happened, fan calls have become way more prevalent than they ever used to be, and I hope that kind of continuing, they will keep up at least some aspect of the fan call thing, because as a foreign fan, I've always felt so disconnected from a lot of those things, because like I can't just go to Korea or Japan every time they have like a fan meet. So I love that I've had the opportunity to like talk to idols. Now, I will say, as my like credentials disclaimer, whatever, the only group that I have ever done fan calls with is Boyfriend. So I don't have a ton of experience with other groups, but I've done fan calls or slash fan signs with a couple of different websites, which is the ones I'll be talking about today. So at least I can give you kind of the overarching, like, general this is how they work thing. And I'll intercut some of my own fan call experience footage in here. If you want to see my entire, like, me talking about one whole experience of a fan sign, I did one for my boyfriend, MyMusicTaste fan sign. I'll link that somewhere. And if you follow me on TikTok, often after my fan calls, I will upload a little video of a few of my favorite clips if you want to see that. But yeah, I've only ever spoken to Boyfriend, but I've spoken to Boyfriend like a lot these last, it's actually almost been a year since my first fan call. I think my first fan call was like end of July, and then Boyfriend came out with a new album earlier this year, so had a ton of stuff. So I've talked to at least Hyunsung, who's my bias, many a times. And I even took notes for this video. Very exciting, because I wanted to make sure that I like got all the points that I wanted to get across, and I couldn't just do that off the top of my head. So the sites that we are going to be talking about are Makestar, MyMusicTaste, FANCALLS, BeatRoad, and MusicArt are the sites that we will be discussing for the different types of fan calls slash fan signs that they have. So before we dive into each individual site, I have a few things that are just the same for all of the sites, so I figured I would just put them all together, and these are relevant to pretty much any fan call or fan sign that you would ever be a part of. The first thing is that all these websites use Line or KakaoTalk to make the call, to do the call. I believe maybe Makestar or MyMusicTaste might allow Skype. I'm not 100% sure on that one, so don't like hold me to that, but Line and KakaoTalk for sure are the only two. Some offer you can either do both, some only accept Line, some only accept KakaoTalk. I would just recommend, you know, make sure you've checked that with whatever site you're going on, and make sure you have accounts set up on both of them. They're free messaging apps that are commonly used in like Japan and Korea, so there's no money that you have to pay to get into them. You just have to make an account, set it up, make sure that you allow contacts and all of that, because I actually wasn't able to participate in the BeatRoad fan sign, like the call that they had, because it wouldn't connect. They tried a whole bunch of times and it wouldn't connect. Very sad. So make sure that you have everything set up, and make sure that you test out the calling before the fan call if you can at all. Like I made my roommate get a Line account to make so that he could call me, so that I can make sure everything was working. Like if you have friends that have Line or KakaoTalk, like just make sure that everything is working, because you don't really have any time on the actual day of the call to like fix anything if anything goes wrong. Another really important thing is that you can't sell, for fan signs at least, you can't sell the winning slot of a fan sign. So say if you sign up for a fan sign, then get into the fan sign, you can't then sell that slot to somebody else, because when you apply for the fan sign, you have to write down your fan sign information, like the name you want written on the fan sign, your contact and your contact information. And they do check IDs for fan signs, so you can't give it to somebody else or sell it to somebody else. You have to apply as you, and only you can show up in that fan call. You can't, and you also can't like pass the phone to anybody else during the call, and other people can't be like sitting behind you. Like, it has to just be you, or the call could be terminated and you wouldn't get to participate. So only you, can't sell it. Another important one, which I guess maybe is also sort of self-explanatory, is that you can't make up the call at all. You have to be available on the day and the time of the call. Now, for a lot of Western fans, like me, I'm from Canada, I'm in the Central Standard Time Zone, fan call times always are really crappy for me. They're either at 11 p.m. or 4 a.m. or 7 a.m. Like, they're always in the middle of the night, and that sucks. But you have to, you can't change that. There's nothing, they won't accommodate you at all. You have to be available for that fan call at that time. So make sure that it's a day that you're able to, you know, stay up late, or that the time zones are definitely tricky to deal with, because it's like, for me it's like 13 hours time difference, very difficult. But so you just know that it'll probably be in the middle of the night, and you have to, you know, figure out that time slot for yourself. And another thing that's sort of the same for all of them, I sort of mentioned it before with the BeatRoad fan sign, but they will try calling you more than once. They say about 2 times that they'll try and call you, and if you don't pick up on the second one, then they move on. With my BeatRoad fan sign, they called me more than twice for sure. Like, they did everything they could. I can't even be mad that I didn't get to participate in it, because they did everything. They called me like probably 5 or 6 times. Then they asked me to call them. Like, they really tried. And then, so that at my turn, they called, and then they were like, okay, like, well, we have to move on, but we'll try you again at the end of the fan sign. Unfortunately, my slot that I was in was right near the end, so I didn't really have enough time to like figure anything out, and it didn't end up happening. But don't worry so much. If you end up missing a fan sign, the video call, your album will still be signed. It'll be still signed to your name and everything. That's what I was worried about. I was like, oh no, like, it won't be signed, but it was. So don't worry about that. Obviously, missing the call really sucks though. So try to do everything you can to make sure you don't miss the call, and everything is like set up beforehand. Now, before we get into the actual websites, I also wanted to explain what a fan sign is, just in case some of you maybe have never heard of that. A fan sign is basically a way for K-pop companies to sell more albums. So when a group is promoting, they will have like contracts with different websites to host fan signs. So which means that on the fan sign, there'll be a certain listing for that fan sign. It'll say you have to buy albums from that site between like this day and this day, and then after that, they will pick 30 people who get to participate in the fan sign, so get their album signed by the member. You get to have, you know, a fan call with them. They will do them in person as well in Korea, but for foreign fans, it's fan call unless they're touring or something. I know they've done a few like in LA and New York, but most of us, we just have to do the fan call. And sometimes you get like pre-order benefit photo cards with each site. Generally, each site has their own set, and if you win the fan sign, you get the whole set of photo cards no matter how many albums you buy. And it's a total lottery system, so you could buy 500 albums and not get in. You could buy 1 album and get in. So they're total kind of crapshoots, and very difficult to like say how many albums you should or shouldn't buy, but the more albums you buy generally, the more likely it is you already get in, depending on how the size of the group as well. And so getting into the first website we'll talk about, probably one of the more common websites for Western fans or North American fans, but probably European fans as well, is MyMusicTaste. It is a website that used to primarily be about bringing concerts to North America and Europe, where you would like request a certain artist for a certain city, and then if that concert ended up happening, you'd get like 10% off, I think, something like that. And so the last couple years, they've also started doing fan signs, so they will sell albums with pre-order benefit photo cards and, you know, buy it from this day to this day, and then they pick 30 people who get to join in to the fan sign. Now, this website is awesome for at least English-speaking foreign fans. I actually am not super sure if they have a language options, like for different languages. I will put something here if they do, or if I can find anything about that. But For English-speaking fans, it's great because the whole website's in English, all the instructions are in English, the price is in USD, the, like if you contact them for support, they all speak English, everything's kind of in English, so really easy to navigate the whole website. It's very clear on, you know, what you need to do and what time, and the listing's only open for the time of the fan sign, and then they email you if you win. You get a little nice congratulations email, very exciting when you get that email. And then they also release, I believe, a list, like with blurred out, like censored names, but the list of people so you can see what order you're in, because the order of that list is the order of like who gets called first and then down the list. And generally with fan signs, you get about 90 seconds per member. It varies a little bit, but usually it's about 90 seconds. So not a ton of time, but enough to like say hello. And I realized on MyMusicTaste website, they do say that they have an English translator kind of on deck, but the calls are so short that you can't rely on them translating anything for you. It's really only kind of worst case scenarios if there's like a big mix up or something's not, like there's miscommunication, then they would step in, but otherwise don't expect them to just translate everything for you. You don't have to speak Korean to join into a fan sign because most K-pop idols speak at least basic English. And even if they don't, like, you can just kind of wave. It's 90 seconds. It's not a very long time. So it doesn't have to, you don't have to say anything elaborate like, hey, you did really well today. You're really handsome. Like, it doesn't have to be anything profound at all. And generally, you're going to be nervous, so you're going to just blurt stuff out anyway. I know I definitely blurted a lot of stuff out talking to Boyfriend because I was very nervous. I even mixed up the twins. There's twins in Boyfriend and I mixed them up and it was so embarrassing. Oh, I hope that they just don't remember that. I'm sure they don't. And the benefit of a fan call is that each of the members has headphones in, so they can't really hear what's happening with the other fan calls happening down the line of the group members. So you can just copy paste whatever you want. Like if you say, you can say the same thing to each individual member, which is definitely what I did for the fan calls, because why not? Like, then you don't have to worry about trying to think of something individual to say to all of them. You can just, you know, because I tried to speak a little bit of Korean and my Korean's not very good, so I said the same thing in Korean to all of them, and that makes the time not feel so awkward. And MyMusicTaste again uses Line and Kakao Talk, and for this fan sign and most fan signs, they do check ID before they start with the phone call. I believe when I did the MyMusicTaste fan sign, they asked for a photo of like you, like right before the call started, they asked for a photo of like you and your ID. Like maybe I think like an hour before they sent a message on either Line or Kakao Talk, whichever one you inputted, and you had to like send an awkward photo, very awkward. For foreigners, it needs to be a passport. For if you're a Korean citizen, I believe it can be like your ID card or registration card, I think, or if you're like a foreigner living in Korea, it can be like your alien registration card. But otherwise, it has to be a passport. It can't be like a student ID. I don't think it even can be a driver's license. I think it has to be a passport that they see just to check that it's you who's on the call. So next we will move on to MusicArt, which is another website that does fan signs. And MusicArt is a Korean website, but they of course allow foreign entries. You may need to use a translator app though, or I know like what is it, Google or whatever can translate like the whole page for you. I also find it useful to have a photo translator, so if I need to take a screenshot of something, then I can get it translated just to make sure I understand what the questions are asking for when you're signing up. And the price for the album is in won, so like remember that, it's not in USD, it's in won. And but I had no issues getting them to like ship it to my Canadian address. That was no issues at all. And even on the actual call itself, the staff like called you beforehand to like, you know, and then you had like your camera covered and then would pass you along to each of the members. And right before the fan call, they were like, can you hear me? Can you see me? At first for me, they spoke in Korean. And then I was like, oh, I don't speak Korean. And then they said it in English. So that was no issue whatsoever. And again, like MyMusicTaste, they also upload a list. I think all of sites do that. They upload a list. You can see what, where in the call you are, because then sometimes you can't accurately like, you know, say I'll be called at this exact time because somebody could miss the fan call like me. But it gives you at least a little bit of like, okay, I'm not first. So if the call starts at like, you know, 9 p.m. Korean time, you know, I might not get on the call until 9:20 9:20 or 9:10 or whatever. So it gives you a little bit of a basis of like just making sure that you're prepared and you're ready for the call. And then the next site is BeatRoad. BeatRoad is another Korean website, so you might need a little bit of a translation app. However, on their website, I did notice that you could switch the language to English, so that is an option. I believe they also have Japanese and Chinese, maybe, and I'll put it somewhere for that one. However, some of the information is like in like a text like photo, which is annoying because that doesn't get translated. So that's why the photo translation app is useful, because I know Google Translate like isn't great, but I don't really need it to like give me like the perfect translation. It just needs to be enough that I can figure out what the rules are or what the question's asking, just to make sure that like I input all the information correctly, because I would hate to like, you know, get into the fan sign but then have done something wrong and then don't get to participate, even though this one I didn't get to participate. Now BeatRoad had a kind of an interesting option along with their fan sign that I hadn't seen any other site do, but basically what they did is when you applied, you had to pick a member that you would want to talk with for a little longer, like if you could. And then what they did is when they picked the 30 people, they also selected 6 people who got extra time with their selected member. So everybody else would have gotten 90 seconds per member, and then those 6 people would have gotten 90 seconds per member, except their selected member, they would have gotten 180 seconds as a little sort of extra time with whichever member is your favorite, I guess. And also with these fan sign sites and with these fan sign, there is no option to get them to write like a PS message or like a post-it note question type thing. I'm not actually sure if you could just ask them during the call to write a specific thing. Maybe you could, and I was just wrong, but I never have asked because I was like, I just didn't know. Most of the members did write something else underneath, but not because I like asked them to, and some of them didn't. So just don't expect like, because you might not be able to like ask for a specific like question. Like I know I've seen in like in-person fan sites, you can like write a little question that they have a post-it note that then they'll answer. That's not really a thing for at least these online fan signs that I've been a part of. So now we're gonna move on to Makestar, which is probably another website that you've heard of or even bought albums from, because they're pretty well known and popular in the community. They're basically K-pop like Kickstarter, is sort of how I've always described it. It's very like crowdfunding based, not always, depending on the group, but a lot of the projects they have to hit 100% to get funded, and then if they do, then they get funded. If they don't, then everybody gets their money back, kind of like Kickstarter. And they definitely do a lot of different fan calls and fan signs. They have both options. For instance, for Boyfriend, when they first announced they were coming back with their new album Adonis, they funded it through through Makestar, and with that option, one of the tiers had the option you got a 5-minute call with either the member of your choice or the 1 minute with each group member. You could pick, and that was a guaranteed fan call. Like there was no lottery system. If you bought that tier, you got that fan call. I believe there was only a certain amount of that tier available for each member, but as long as you paid for it, you got in. There was no lottery, nothing like that. And yeah, and you got longer with the member, right? Of course, you got 5 minutes, which is longer than any fan sign call. And they also have a fan sign type thing that happens. I know GOT7 has definitely done them. I think lots of groups do fan signs sort of through Makestar. So that's the traditional sort of fan sign experience where you buy an album or like buy a tier, but that doesn't guarantee you the fan call. Then they pick 30 people or whatever. And but the thing with Makestar is that they definitely have a little bit of a different thing. Their calls seem to be a lot longer than other websites. Maybe not for every group, but my experience is they're between like the traditional like 60 to 90 seconds all the way up to 10 minutes. I just had a 10-minute call with Hyunsung. 10 minutes is a long time, man. Whew, that's a long time. But they only picked 5 people per member for that 10-minute option. So, you know, the longer the calls, the less people they get to choose. Just otherwise they'd be there for 12,000 hours. And with those sorts of things, sometimes they will call them different things, which I find very confusing. They'll call them group video call, they'll call them a fan sign, they'll call them an online fan meeting. What does all that mean? It seems like they're all kind of the same thing. Don't know. And I noticed that with the fan signs, like BeatRoad and MusicArt, like those sorts of fan signs, they were physically signing the album while they were on the call with you, which is a little awkward on the phone because then you just get like a nice shot at the top of their head as they're signing. But for the Makestar ones, even though a couple of the ones that I've done from Makestar, they have signed the album, it doesn't seem like they're doing it on the call with you. Maybe they are, and the Hyunsung's just really good at like not really looking at paper. I'm not sure, but it didn't seem like they were signing it at the time of the call. So sometimes you're just chatting, sometimes they're signing and chatting. It can depend. Now, Makestar is really great if you like a lot of like extra perks, because often each tier has a lot of stuff in it. Like the more expensive tiers have the most stuff, but they'll come with like extra photo cards and posters and like a necklace and like, you know, Polaroids and like lots of different types of things. And often they'll have like stretch goals. So if you hit 100%, if you hit 200%, 300%, then they'll give you even more stuff. So if you're someone who likes lots of stuff and likes to collect, Makestar is a good one for you. However, Makestar is also a double-edged sword if you like to collect photo cards, especially, because sometimes, depending on, like, they'll have two separate options and each option will have different photo card sets, which is so frustrating. Like, for instance, for Boyfriend's 11th anniversary, they were doing online fan signs and in-person fan signs, so you had to pick what you were going to apply to. So you could either apply the in-person one where you got to have the whole thing signed by all the members, or you picked the video one where you got to get it signed by one member and you got to have longer to talk to that one member. But each of those had different photo card sets, so if you wanted both, you'd have to enter into both. But if you're not in Korea, then how do you go to the in-person one? Like, you know, but that's only for us crazy completionist photo card people. And again, Makestar's, yeah, super foreign friendly. The whole site's in English, everything's in USD. If you reach out for support, the staff speaks English. There's generally no translator available, I don't believe, because usually like it's just you talking to like the specific member or whatever. Maybe they do have somebody standing on guard just in case, but again, don't rely on it. Like, just find something fun, little cute thing to say, regardless of if you speak Korean or not. You can just, you know, you can find something small to say and it doesn't have to be like elaborate, and it's not embarrassing, I promise you. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about the most different type of fan call that you can experience, I think, and that is with FANCALLS. Now, not every group is related to FANCALLS. I'll put a video overlay probably of just like a scroll down of all of the groups or solo artists they work with. They are a Japanese website, so they do work with a lot of Japanese artists, but also some K-pop artists as well who spend time in Japan, like Boyfriend, because that's what I've done. And now FANCALLS is different because it's not a fan sign. It's not related to album promo. They at least with Boyfriend, they've done them a lot more often, and not related to a fan sign, so you get no signed album or anything along with it. It's just a fan call. And it's different because each ticket that you buy equals 1 minute of talking time, and you can pick how many minutes you want the call to be. So it's totally up to you. I mean, depending on your budget, of course, but you could pick, I believe you can only buy like 5 tickets at a time, but I believe you could buy like 2 5-minute things and get 10 minutes. Oh, that'd be very expensive, but you could. Because in my experience, the one ticket, so 1 minute of calling, is about $50, like US, Canadian, I'm not sure, but it's like 50,000 yen or 5,000 yen. Yeah, whatever. And it's also in yen. So remember that, it's in yen. The first time I did my fan call, I did not understand the ticket thing. And I purchased 5, not understanding what that meant, and didn't realize how much money I spent until after I had already paid. And it was a lot, it was too much. Ooh, too much. But I did it anyway. And FANCALLS is probably the hardest website to navigate because it's all in Japanese. And, but I have noticed the last few have had an English, like, section, like, where they've explained the rules in English, so they've maybe realized that some foreign fans do it, but a translation app or something super useful for that one to make sure that, you know, you get it all done. They use exclusively Line, so you have to have that one for that. And they're also, I think, the only website that gives you opportunity to talk, at least with Boyfriend, in my experience, they had the opportunity where you could talk to the whole group all at once. I don't necessarily recommend to do that because it was very stressful because I did not realize that all 6 of them would be on the call when I answered. And it was very stressful. but I was lucky because I was gonna teach all the group members how to say I love you in ASL because I thought it was something easy that I could do, and so I was like, okay, at least I can teach all of them. Okay, but it was very stressful when they picked up. So I don't necessarily recommend talking with the whole group unless you want to. The individual member ones I find much easier though, because you're closer and it's like a little moment. And another thing that's different about Fan Cafe Live is that they, at least in my experience, they don't do an ID check at all. Like I've never experienced them doing an ID check, but I think it's because the staff doesn't call you. Like for the fan signs, the staff will call you, like cover, you know, you'll be on mute with your camera covered, and then you move to the member, they'll unmute you, put the camera up so you can see, and then kind of move you along. Fan Cafe Live, the group member that you pick to talk to is the one calling you. So like as soon as that phone call happens, they're calling you. When you pick up, they're there. Like there's no like moment with like the staff before you talk to them. It's like there they are immediately. So you gotta be on it as soon as that call happens. And because it is a Japanese website, they cater mostly to like Japanese and Korean people who live in Japan or Korea, because they offer, for a lot of them, they offer, like if you buy one ticket, you get like one photo card or Polaroid that's signed, and if you buy like 2 tickets, you get 2 Polaroids, like things like that. Like they do have little offered of like signed Polaroids or signed photo cards. However, they only send them to Japanese or Korean addresses. And if you're foreign, they send you a video and like a photo of it, which is cool, but like I want the photo card or the Polaroid more than a photo of it, you know? So I would recommend getting a Korean address. I currently use Korgo? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I've really liked it. I found that that was the easiest, and so I'm able to get that Polaroid or photo card sent there and then sent to me. So if you want the photo card, then that would be my option. If you are okay with just getting like a little video message and like a photo of the Polaroid, then you can just do that. They will send that to you either through Line or through email after the call's over. And Fan Cafe Live will also sometimes do fan meets along with fan calls. So you could also, like online fan meets, which is basically like where you pay to like watch a little mini concert of them like on stage and stuff. So if you like that kind of thing, then you can do that and then talk to the members. Have fun, you can do it all. Have a big old day full of the group that you like. Okay, I think that is all that I wanted to say about those different websites. I hope that this video was helpful for you if you were thinking about entering into a fan sign or a fan call, or it maybe gave you some ideas to maybe try entering one. Because I know that a lot of people are really nervous to talk to like their favorite K-pop idol, and like, trust me, I am too. I'm pretty shy and like awkward, but I think that it is a cool experience if you can push yourself to do it. And like, just know that like it is probably gonna be awkward, but like for all parties, like it's awkward because it's a weird situation, right? Like they know I paid to talk to them, like that's weird. So it's just how it is. And honestly, they're super nice, and you get to like, you don't have to have a long phone call. You can have a long enough just to go like, hi, I really love you. You've helped me out a lot. Thank you. That's it. Or you can like get to know them. Like I've talked to Hyunsung from Boyfriend enough that like he kind of now knows me and I kind of know him. Like he recognizes me like when I call, and it's like getting more comfortable the more I talk to him, even though our language barriers are difficult because he doesn't speak a ton of English. His English is way better than my Korean. Like my Korean's garbage, but like we still are able to kind of like talk, and it's still like fun. It's still fun. It is really expensive though, so only do it if you can like financially afford it. But if you're ever at a point where like you could do it, I recommend just like trying it. Like if it's only a few minutes, what do you have to lose? If it's a little bit weird for 2 minutes, then you don't have to do it again. But at least you got to do it. You know, you got that experience, you got to do it. And although wink wonk, you're not allowed to film on any of these, you're not allowed to take recordings of any of this, wink wonk, wink wonk. I'm not that I do this, but you could allegedly, if you wanted to, film maybe, but again, I don't do that. Because then, you know, then you have the experience, and it could just be good to push you. I think it's easier to do it online than do it in person for the first time. Maybe not, maybe I'm crazy, but for me it was easier because at least I can be in my own house, like, and then if I make a fool of myself once the call's over, I don't have to be there anymore. So, like, instead of being in a room where, like, now I'm here, now I'm embarrassed. Like, when I yelled at JB from Got7, I was so embarrassed and I couldn't leave because I was still in the line for for the other high touches, so online was easier. Please let me know if you like this style of video, if there's any other like things like this that you'd like me to talk about in this style, and I totally will, because I like talking and I think that it's good to like have like one place to go where you can learn about different things. But yeah, I think I'm going to go. Hopefully this video, the lighting is okay in here. My house is always kind of dark because it's always cloudy, but we're doing our best here. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, I guess, if you haven't. Like the video if you like it. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I post art on Instagram and dumb shiny things on TikTok if you're into that. Yeah. I also have an online store on Etsy. I sell like K-pop, mostly K-pop related stickers and prints. If you're interested in that, you can check it out. Link's always in the bio. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!